So now we have seen how to write math expressions in Python. We will look in this video at the concepts related to arithmetic expressions. So what is an expression? An expression is basically a combination of operands and operators. Consider, for example, the following expression: 4 multiplied into x minus 3 and x minus 3 between parentheses. In this expression, for the multiplication operator, or the multiplication operator here, has two operands. The first operand is the 4 to the left hand side of the operator, and the second operand is the x minus 3 between parentheses to the right hand side of this operator. Now, an operand itself can also be an expression. So this term in here, this term over here is also an expression. And it's an expression because you have the minus operator, so this is an operator, and you have the x as an operand, and you have the 3 as an operand. So this is an operand, and that's also an operand. So your expressions are basically a combination or a mix of operators and operands. Now, Python has 7 basic arithmetic operations, and these are the operators that allow you to do these or such arithmetic operations. I will not go in details about this. You can refer to this source over here, and you will see this exact same table. What we will look at next is 2 operators that you might not be familiar with from your basic math courses, and those are the modulo operator and the floored division operator. So we will look next at examples of modulo and floor. So the modulo operation, which is this percentage sign, gives you the remainder of dividing two numbers. For example, consider the following. Let's say that we want to find the remainder of dividing 17 by 4. Now we know that 17 as a number has 4 fours, so 4 times 4 is 16, which means that the remainder of 17 modulus, or the remainder of 17 divided by 4, should be 1. Now, if you are not sure how we have got this one, so remember that 4 times 4 is 16, so 17 minus 16 is 1, and that's how we usually find the remainder. The other operator that we will look at in detail is the floor division operator, and the floor division in Python is these two forward slashes. Now, there are 2 division operators in Python, as we have seen in the demo. The first one is the normal division operator, and the second one is floor division. So that's floor division. Now, the normal division operator works basically as you expect in math. So for example, if you take 1 and divide it by 2, you should get 0.5. However, in the floor division operator, the floor division, the result is rounded to the next smallest whole number. And in this case, it's usually an integer if you're using integers, or it's a floating point number that does not have any fraction, or its fraction is just a 0. For example, if you take, let's say that we take 1 and you do a floor division over 2, what you should get is basically 0. However, if you do 1.0 and you do a floor division over 2, the result of this should be 0.0. So the result is not always an integer, however, it's always rounded to a whole number. So the fraction part is always going to be a 0. And here is an example. So let's say you take 17 and you divide it by 4. If you do this in a calculator, the result is supposed to be 4.25. However, if you do a floor division, so 17 divided by 4, both of them are integers, all what you get the integer part, which is in this case is 4. And for the sake of completion, so let's say you do 17.0 and you divide it by 4, what you should get is 4.0. So you need to be aware of the different results that you get for each one of these divisions. One of the things that you need to be aware when writing math expressions is the order in which operators will be evaluated, and we call that order operator precedence. For example, if you want to force an order of evaluation of operators, usually you use the parentheses. If you don't use parentheses, and if you have a sequence of operators that are appearing in an expression, usually the exponentiation takes precedence. So exponentiation is evaluated first, and then you have the division and multiplication operators, and then you have addition and subtraction. And if you have a statement, or if you have an assignment statement, usually the assignment operator is executed last. So how Python evaluates mathematical expressions using the operator precedence table that we have seen. Let's take a look at this example. Pause this video for a minute or so and try to find out the value in data and try to find out what is the output. So to find the answer here, let me just rewrite the statement, the same statement, just in this blank space over here. So let's say that data is equal to 3.0 plus 1 times, so that's multiply 2 modulus 6. So we know from the operator precedence table that the first thing that gets executed in here is the multiplication operator, because the plus has lower precedence. So Python evaluates that part over there. So this should look now, so after evaluating this part, now the statement will be data equal 3.0 plus, so 1 times 2 is 2 modulus 6. And the second highest one in this case is 2 modulus 6. So 2 modulus 6, the remainder of dividing 2 by 6 is supposed to be 2. So the second thing that gets evaluated is 3.0 plus 2. And then we have only one operator, and that's evaluates to 5.0. So now we have data equal 5.0. Note that we have 5.0 because we have a float in here, and then that gets assigned to data, and then when you come and do the print in here, the result's supposed to be 5.0. Note that we have done the evaluation one step at a time, or one operator at a time, to make it clear how actually Python evaluates this statement. It happens very fast, so it just doesn't, I mean, this might look slow to you because we are just evaluating one operator at a time, but in a computer, usually this happens in an instance. The last topic that we'll cover in this lecture is implicit type conversion. And if you remember from an earlier part of this lecture, we have talked about explicit type conversion, where we have used functions such as int or string to convert between data types. Now, Python does what we call an implicit type conversion. And implicit type conversion happens when Python automatically converts an int into a float. Consider, for example, this expression in here. So we have this division, which is basically a float division, and a float division usually expects both operands to be a float. So we have one float in here, but this operand here is not a float, it's an integer. So what does Python do? It actually replaces this with a float. So it replaces this with 10.0, and it divides this by 4.0, and the result from here should be 2.5, and that's the result that you get, which is also a float. So this conversion in here, the conversion from an int to a float, happens automatically. So this done automatically. So you don't need to do anything in this case. Python does this for you automatically, and we call such automatic conversion implicit type conversion.